Over 300 people had signed up for our public event, Show Up for Palestine. In just 4 days, then the police, damn last minute, informed the venue and organizers that the event would require a police permit, which the police said that they would not be willing to issue. The police claimed that even though it is an indoor event, it could not be allowed because it pertains to race/religion. They did not accept organizers' clarifications that the event was about the humanitarian crisis in Gaza and calls on our government to take action to stop the genocide. It has nothing to do with race or religion. This brings us to the fifth of our 5 demands: stop the police investigation into and intimidating people of Singapore who are exercising their civil right by peacefully expressing support for Palestinian lives, both online and offline. Reopen Hong Lim Park to pro-peace rallies and allow the display of symbols for Palestinian freedom. Given that this public event had to be cancelled, some of us organized this private event instead, called STEADFAST for Palestine. Sumut, meaning steadfastness or steadfast perseverance, is a Palestinian cultural value, ideological theme, and political strategy that emerged in the wake of the 1967 Six-Day War among the Palestinian people as a consequence of their oppression and the resistance it inspired. We take inspiration from the Palestinian spirit in organizing Steadfast for Palestine. As people around the world, all over, rise in solidarity with Palestinians, it should enrage all of us that the state continues to use the police to tie our hands, to silence us, and to neuter our efforts to stand on the side of justice, to do the right thing as the genocide in Gaza rages on. In Singapore, there have been many efforts campaigning for Palestine for a long time, and many have faced the brunt of state repression. The steadfastness of Palestinians who are undergoing living nightmares should inspire us to never give up, no matter the restrictions and suppression of the government and the police. Resistance here in Singapore is so important. Singapore has long-standing economic, military, and diplomatic ties with Israel. It was only after October 7, 2023, that the Singapore government sent our first permanent ambassador to Israel. Singapore continues to be one of the biggest arms traders with Israel. Our military technology and personnel are contributing towards the atrocities against Palestinians. And this is where our taxpayer money and electoral votes are going towards. As the people of Singapore, is this okay to you? Is this okay to you? No. Is this okay to you? No. This brings us to the 5 demands that we have come up for Steadfast for Palestine. We want to do our part for peace. Singapore for Palestine demands that the Singapore state stop buying Israeli arms, stop Singaporean partnership with Israeli institutions, stop all diplomatic relations with Israel, stop participating in the US-led attacks in the Red Sea, and stop police investigations into peaceful expressions of support for Palestine. Let me go further into these demands. So the first demand: stop buying Israeli arms. In December 2023, it was announced that the Singapore Navy purchased Blue Spear missiles from Israel Aerospace Industries. Each missile cost taxpayers USD 5 million. IAI, which is the Israel Aerospace Industries, even have a booth at the Singapore Air Show happening from 20th to 25th February later this year. This is just in a couple of days. Today is 2nd February, so it's in like 20 plus days. They're going to have them in Singapore at the expo. Singapore bodies must cut ties with Israeli military contractors such as IAI, Orbit Systems, and ban them from operating out of Singapore. Number 2, stop Singaporean partnerships with Israeli institutions. Those that NUS and NTU are currently pursuing are some of them with the ties, academic ties with the universities of Israel, with these local universities. We call for these institutions to cease all cultural programs that legitimize the settler-colonial state of Israel. Number 3, stop all diplomatic relations with Israel. Withdraw Singapore's recently appointed ambassador to Israel, Mr. Ian Mak Jung Ai, and end the diplomatic presence of Israel in Singapore. Number 4, stop Singapore's involvement in the US-led coalition's attacks in the Red Sea, known as Operation Prosperity Guardian and Combined Task Force 153. And finally, stop the police investigations into and intimidating of people in Singapore who are exercising their civil rights by peacefully expressing support for Palestinian lives, both online and offline. We need to reopen Hong Lim Park to pro-peace rallies and allow the display of symbols for Palestinian freedoms. We had less than 48 hours to get invites out to all of you, and we are gathered here today to show that we are steadfast for Palestine. We will continue to find ways to resist and to persist in showing up for Palestine. Our event is currently being live streamed, and also photos and videos are being taken. So please feel free to let your friends who cannot be here today know that they can share this evening of solidarity with us virtually via the Online Citizens Facebook or YouTube channel. Since we are all here to show up for Palestine, we want to make a stand that we are here to face the state, and we are showing the vast number of people here. We don't even have enough chairs for all of you. Some of you are sitting on the floor, some of you are standing around, some people are still at the booths out there also. We are overflowing with support for Palestine, and here the people of Singapore are here to show that. That being said, if you don't want to be in any videos or photos, please feel free to mask up. Or otherwise, if you don't have a mask, you can raise up your hand now if you don't want to be in any photos or videos. Okay, bye. Everyone wants to be in the videos. Okay, nice. Makes life easier, don't you do our logistics. Okay, so rest assured, private events are not covered under the Public Order Act, so we do not expect any trouble today. You are also welcome to take photos and post about today on your social media. So just remember to use the hashtags FreeWatermelonTodaySG and SG for Palestine. And you can also tag SGP for Palestine 48 on Instagram as well. Okay, before we move on to the next speaker, let's do a chant together. So can everyone just stand up if you can? Okay, Rocky signaled to me that I'm too short, so I'm standing up here now. Okay. Alright, so our first chant for today, everyone knows the Free Free Palestine chant? Okay, that's what we're going to do. So when I say Free Free Palestine, you say? Okay, but louder lah, huh? Okay. Okay. Free Free Palestine! Free Free Palestine! Free 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 Palestine! Free 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 Palestine! Free Free Palestine! Free Free Palestine! Free 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 Palestine! I want to see all your left fists up as well. If you have placards, hold it up also. Let's go. Free, free Palestine. Free, free Palestine. Free, free, free Palestine. Free, free, free Palestine. Free, free Palestine. Free, free Palestine. Free, free, free Palestine. Free, free, free Palestine. Okay, I see. Okay, solid. Okay, so now we'll be moving on to our first speaker. Okay, you all sit down first. Yeah. Okay, great energy for our first chant. We'll have many more coming up in between the speeches later. So our first speaker for today is Isaac. Isaac is a 29-year-old advocate for greater civil society and engagement and political awareness in society. He believes that anyone who wishes to speak up for issues they're passionate about should be able to do so without fear. So Isaac, please, the stage is yours.
Hi everyone. Hi, can you hear me? All good? Okay. So, I'll just start by saying I had no intention of speaking today until yesterday, when I was all prepared, to head to the projector, stand near the back, show support quietly, and then just leave. But then I received the message yesterday. I received the invitation, and I saw the reason why the event was cancelled. And I thought, that's ridiculous. Enough is enough. Somebody has to say something. And so I reached out to the organizers, and here I am. So I'm going to keep it brief, because I just have a few thoughts. It seems very common sense to me. I can't believe it has to be said, but I'm just going to say it. One, what is happening in Gaza transcends racial or religious lines. If you want to know, I'm Chinese, I'm Catholic, But that has never factored into my considerations on whether to support things like calling for more humanitarian aid, calling for permanent ceasefire, things like that. Why? Because Palestinians across religious lines have been killed or injured by the IDF's actions. Leaders across religious lines have spoken out about what is happening, including the head of the Catholic Church, Pope Francis. Global protests from across the world, where people of all stripes and sorts take place regularly to call for an immediate and permanent ceasefire. And they take place peacefully. So I don't see any reason why events like this would incite any racial or religious tensions. And frankly, I think it's insulting to Singaporeans to think that we're not politically mature enough to support something that doesn't concern our racial or religious group. And if it does offend certain people on racial or religious grounds, then I think the problem is them and not the people who want to raise awareness about humanitarian crisis. 2, it gives me hope there's loads of people here who care about what's happening, especially amongst us youth. So I'm below 30, I'm still counted. Humor me, okay. Even in my own short lifetime, I've seen this conflict flare up several times. And I'll be honest and say that I was quite resigned when it flared up again in October. I didn't think anything would change. But going to events like this, the Singapore for Palestine Film Festival, seeing spontaneous fundraising efforts among friends, gives me hope that we're on the right track. And although it will take many more steps, achieving peace will be a prolonged process. I'm of the view that we shouldn't remain silent anymore, or use our cynicism as an excuse to not do anything. The very least we can do is to boost the voices of those impacted by what is happening on the ground in Gaza. We need to show our leaders that we care and they must act. Lastly, even though there's been a change, in our leaders' rhetoric, what they say, their actions speak differently. We say we try to play both sides, remain neutral, but we step out of diplomatic ties with Israel. We reject any public gatherings, even if they're just to speak on the humanitarian crisis. Sure, maybe we need to be cordial, show face a bit with Israel. They helped us when we were newly independent, had little allies, blah, 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 things like that. But historical ties should not take precedence over current day atrocities. If your friend was committing a crime, a real friend wouldn't enable them. They would try to counsel them, get them on the right path again. So why aren't we seeing more action from our leaders? At times like this, supporting humanity should trump real politic considerations. So to end off, I want to cite Pope Francis, who said in his Christmas message, so I quote, "To say yes to the Prince of Peace then means saying no to war, to every war, and to do so with courage, to the very mindset of war, an aimless voyage, a defeat without victors, an inexcusable folly. This is what war is, an aimless voyage, a defeat without victors, an inexcusable folly." So I don't think there's anything in this message that could incite tension or whatever, and it's something universal that we should all agree on. So I want to support the organizers' demands that our government take greater steps to help with the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, stand in solidarity with the Palestinian people, and stop trying to censor peaceful protests in solidarity with the people of Gaza. Thank you.
Thank you, Isaac, for your speech. And yes, to more spaces for free speech. We cannot let the government shut us down. We need to keep showing up. And it's so important that we're here today and show up in different community efforts that have emerged, right? Like Palms for Peace. There are various student efforts. There was a letter delivery that happened today also, and different campus picnics in solidarity with Palestine. So it's so important and so great that we're all here today and we continue to show up and not let ourselves be silenced in solidarity with the people of Palestine. So let's all stand up again for one more chant. Actually, there'll be many more, so you'll all keep standing up, sitting down, but it's okay lah. Okay, this chant is called Palestine Will Never Die. So when I say Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry, you say Palestine will never die. Okay, Ken, we try one time, huh? Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry. Palestine will never die. Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry. Palestine will never die. Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry. Palestine will never die. Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry. Palestine will never die. With your fist, left fist up. Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry. Palestine will never die. Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry. Palestine will never die. Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry. Palestine will never die. Okay, do it louder. I want Jurong to hear you. Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry. Palestine will never die. Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry. Palestine will never die. Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry. Palestine will never die. Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry. Palestine will never die. Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry. Palestine will never die. Okay, thank you all so much. Okay, sit back down. Power, power. Okay, next up we have Nurul. Nurul is a nurse and a full-time lover of ducks. She is interested. I finished reading your intro first. Too soon? No worries. Okay, so she is interested in discourse surrounding racial harmony, queer rights, migrant workers' rights, and interfaith. She is currently hosting a beginner-friendly book club named Chapter-Wise Book Club. Every week, members will get together to read. Ilan Pape's The Ethnic Cleansing of Palestine. So do check it out on her Instagram at @Afika. So everyone is welcome. So over to you. Test. Is it on? Is it on? No? Is it on? Got sound? Okay.
So a very good evening to all, and may peace and blessings be upon every soul in the audience. My name is Nurul, I'm a nurse, and I've been asked to share about the ongoing genocide of Palestine from a healthcare worker's perspective. We are all aware of the targeted attacks on the Gazan healthcare system, which has led to its complete collapse. Bombing of hospitals and ambulances, desecrating of graves, arresting healthcare staff, shooting of patients while they're in hospital. The IOF has done it all and more. We've all seen haunting videos of children who've had to undergo amputations for anesthesia, and healthcare workers who've lost entire families while at work. There's not much more to say except that we continue to amplify Palestinian voices, bear witness to their suffering, and use that knowledge to propel our actions. It might seem contrary to the nature of this event, but another group that I also wish to speak about are the Israeli healthcare workers. I'm not alone in wondering, how did it come to this? Nobody goes into medicine or nursing or any other healthcare field wanting to hurt people. They go in wanting to help, to heal, and yet there are Israeli doctors out there removing organs from Palestinians. There are Israeli nurses right now treating burns patients from the IOF who just received skin grafts from the Israeli skin bank that they very well know is made up almost entirely of Palestinian skin. And of course, we cannot forget the Israeli doctors who have signed a petition in November demanding the bombing of Gazan hospitals. There was also an Al Jazeera article written last November titled, "Israel is bombing hospitals in Gaza with Israeli doctors' approval." Written by Palestinian doctors working in Israel, it mentions Israeli doctors who have become consultants to the army. Doctors who are advising an army that is committing genocide right now. Genocidal doctors seems like an oxymoron, but the uncomfortable truth is that doctors and the teams, the healthcare teams that they lead, have committed unspeakable acts of evil in every genocide. German doctors in Nazi Germany, Serbian doctors in Bosnia and Croatia, Hutu doctors in Rwanda, just to name a few. I don't have the knowledge or the background to go into all of these examples, but I bring them up to remind ourselves that this phenomenon of genocidal doctors is not unique, and that any society can eventually turn average people genocidal. I think most of us are familiar with the pyramid of hate. If you want to see what I'm referencing, you can Google pyramid of hate right now. The pyramid of hate illustrates how society slowly moved towards genocide. At the very base is biased attitudes, followed by acts of bias, followed by discrimination, followed by bias-motivated violence, and at the very top of the pyramid is genocide. And while it's not easy to reach the top, it's not difficult either. What's alarming is how Singapore, as well as most societies worldwide, are at the discrimination level. So in some way, we're only 2 levels away from genocide. There's a book written by David Livingstone Smith called Less Than Human: Why We Demean, Enslave, and Exterminate Others. It's an unsettling read because of all the examples that he quotes throughout the book, but also because of the conclusion that he draws again and again, that anyone is capable of genocide. In the comment section of posts showing Zionists, doing really violent and saying very violent things, we see a lot of in the comments like, where is their humanity? Where is their humanity? As if humanity, this kinship between fellow human beings, comes naturally to everyone. The author challenges this idea and instead insists that othering comes naturally to everyone, not humanity. And if you were to think of the statement, justice applies to every person in society, I think everyone can agree with a statement like that. But if you're not part of society, if perhaps you are part of a marginalized group, or if you're not really a person, then justice doesn't apply to you. Okay, plot twist. The pyramid of hate that I referenced is from created by the Anti-Defamation League, which is actually a very strongly Zionist organization. They are actually so Zionist that staff have had to resign in protest of how Zionist they are. And Dr. David Livingstone Smith, despite being an authority on dehumanization, he's sympathetic towards Palestinians, but he's not quite anti-Zionist. And it's actually startling that those who are well-versed in knowledge about rejecting narratives of hate are still holding on to their biases at the detriment of the oppressed. So why is that? White supremacy, that's a big one. And at the heart of white supremacy is racism. Racism is a whole conversation on its own. So I've participated in many dialogues about racism in Singapore. And one thing I've realized is that in a way, it's harder to talk about racism to someone who thinks they are not racist. And this is a big problem because a big part of anti-racism work is realizing that you're actually more racist than you think. I think we all know actually everyone is racist. There are no exceptions. And it is only with this acknowledgement that you can begin to confront the biases within yourselves and do the unlearning, properly do the unlearning of racism. And I think about the Anti-Defamation League and Dr. Smith and wonder if perhaps they have not done enough of this self-reflection and unlearning. And the result is that they end up replicating the kind of biases they want to combat. This is a point of reflection for myself also. I think I am pro-Palestinian and anti-Zionist, but there's so much unlearning I've yet to do. So much more that I can do, both as an individual and as part of a community. To bring it back to Singapore, the healthcare system, since I have to speak from the perspective of a healthcare worker, is no different than any other system that's meant to do good. Education system, the social services ecosystem, and they are able to bring great benefit when done right, but they also support existing systems of oppression. Everyone has had that racist teacher, or if you are very unlucky, teachers in the plural. And there are social workers out there who look down on the very marginalized groups that they are supposed to provide services to. You're supposed to help single mothers, but then you look down on single mothers, then what are you doing? Healthcare is no different, okay? Discrimination in healthcare is very common. Ableism, medical racism, medical sexism, medical fat phobia, medical transphobia. You might have experienced it, or you might know someone who has, and it's not just doctors, okay, nurses and other healthcare professionals too. As a nurse, I can say a lot of nurses, they're actually quite discriminatory. And I'm using this example of healthcare because it's what I'm familiar with, but it should be applied broadly. Genocidal doctors were discriminatory doctors before they became genocidal. And Genocidal societies were discriminatory societies before they became genocidal. And we must be so, so careful and continue to speak against discrimination and speak for inclusion as often as we can so as to avoid sliding to the top of the pyramid. And another point that I want to make, it's strange that while abroad healthcare workers are protesting in support of their counterparts in Palestine, but the local healthcare scene has been quite silent. And although a healthcare job isn't a government job per se, it's like government adjacent. Healthcare is an integral part of nation building, so even though public hospitals are not fully government run and private hospitals are private so-called, they still work with and answer to the government very extensively. And as we know, everyone with a government job is, has reservations about taking a stance that is not in line with the government. When I was much younger, working as a nurse at a public hospital, one day, this was before the hijab ban was lifted, one day I decided to wear the hijab to work, just to try CC, what would happen. So of course, I was immediately brought to management, made me take it off, but that was expected. Much later on, I had a colleague inform me that the day I wore the hijab to work, Minister in charge of Muslim affairs at the time was informed. And the colleague told me this as a warning. But now I'm thinking, upper management reported me to Yaakob Ibrahim. Why they have to do that? I was at that time, I'm a fresh grad. How can they do that to me? But for whatever reason, right, they did it. And this is for something so-called, it's a small thing so-called, like the hijab. And I can imagine that if local healthcare workers banded together to support Palestine, some minister will be involved. And it's a risk that, understandably, it's a risk a lot of people don't want to take. So that's why it's been quite silent in the healthcare sector. So the last couple of months has really woken me up to the extent of Zionism. It's systemic, it's global, and it's present in so many of our societies, in so many levels of society, including ours. In light of this genocide, we have all made many changes. We've changed the way we've spent, we've changed the way we've consumed media, and we have experienced changes in sometimes our personal friendships, our professional relationships also. So much has changed, and yet there is more to be done. I'm so heartened that almost every week, someone, somewhere in Singapore is organizing something in support of Palestinians. We might question the impact of it. I know I do. But then I remember that every person who displays support of Palestine expands the safe space for other people to do the same. And this safe space can only get bigger and bigger and bigger for as long as we continue to educate ourselves, elevate Palestinian voices, and take action and oppose settler-colonial violence in all its forms. I hope we can continue to have resilience. I hope we can continue to be steadfast. May Palestine be free in our lifetime. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Got sound? Okay, got sound. Okay. Thank you so much, Nurul. That was a very moving speech. Very important one as well, addressing how all these systemic layers of discrimination contribute to the violence and atrocities that we see in the world today, and especially in Gaza, especially in Palestine right now. And there's so much that we have to do to unpack these biases and discrimination, and so much we have to do also to push the state to ensure that there is the eradication, there is the abolishment of these systems of oppression, and introduction of kinder, just systems, so that we can, as a people, also be kind to one another and be able to have, be able to be caring and compassionate and build a just and peaceful world. And that cannot happen if we don't first tackle these systems of oppression and also to unpack the biases that have been built and educated into us. So before we continue, the people in front of me can move a bit because got more people coming in, which is a good thing. Look, we're overflowing the space. You all should give yourselves a round of applause. Okay, while we're doing that, I think you all know the drill already. Can stand up for another chant. Okay, for this chant, I'll say three different things. So, for example, I would say end occupation, and you say not life. Okay, we try that, huh? End occupation. Not life. Okay, bye. Okay, next, I'll say end colonialism, and you say? Yeah, correct. Okay, then afterwards, I'll say end apartheid, and you say? Okay, let's go. End occupation. Not life. End colonialism. Not life. End apartheid. Not life. End occupation. Not life. End colonialization. Not life. End apartheid. Not life. End occupation. Not life. End colonialism. Not life. End apartheid. Not life. Anyone want to try also? We go one more round, then we hear our next speaker, okay? End occupation! Not life! End colonialism! Not life! End apartheid! Not life! Okay, thank you! Okay, next up, we have two speakers. So first up, we have Shainda. Shainda is a 23-year-old marketing analyst. She's a mother of two children aged 4 and 9 months. Although she has been a firm supporter of the struggle for a free Palestine since learning about it when she was 14 years old, it was Israel's recent genocidal attacks that spurred her to be more public and vocal about it. And alongside her is Amelia. Amelia is a 4-year-old activist. When she's in class, she talks passionately about Palestine to her teachers and peers. Amelia believes Amelia believes that she can change the world someday. As quite likely Singapore's youngest activist, some might say that Amelia has already made history. So the two of you may come up right now for the speech.
Hi everyone. So I'm gonna talk mostly on perspective of being a mom. I'm very happy to be standing here surrounded by people who are showing up for Palestine. You are the people who are showing up for humanity. Yeah. Today will be the 118 days of genocide in Gaza. It has been over 100 days of watching genocide unfold on our phone screens. I'm so consumed with guilt that we're so privileged to be born here. And that was the only difference between me and the Palestinians. Because if you are born in Gaza, you might not even have your first breath. So bombs are constantly dropping over the thousands of women giving birth, the children, the elderly, the disabled, the fathers, doctors, journalists, cats, dogs, horses, donkeys. Nobody is safe. Nothing is safe. They have no access to healthcare, no food, no water, no electricity. Every time I see the gory images of the children on my phone screen, I would lower my phone and I would look at my children and I cannot even bear to see a scratch on them. So I cannot imagine how the parents of Gaza are feeling. I don't even think I have an ounce of faith or resilience that they have. I remember how difficult pregnancy was for me. Yet I'm living so comfortably in Singapore. The pain as a mother to go through childbirth is already unbearable. How can some parts of the world be equipped with advanced medical facilities, yet also have the power to refuse basic healthcare for others? The mothers that give birth to their children without proper medical care. To think about my experience giving birth, it should be a beautiful experience, but the mothers in Gaza are not even granted a basic human right. Every time I see my children, I see the reflection of Gaza. I share this pain with my children every night for them to know that they should never tolerate injustice and to always be brave to call out about what's bad. Our children are our only hope. They will be the new leaders, but today, it's our time to lead. and be a guide for them. So make sure that we make good decisions, teach them by being great examples, and the first step is to never tolerate injustice anywhere. We live at the expense of their lives. I always get this question, what has their suffering has got to do with me? Many are still suffering on this earth. Every time I get asked that, I told them, picture yourself in an emergency department, in a hospital. Many wounded, seeking for medical attention. But one patient comes rushing in, blood everywhere, limbs missing. Do you expect the doctors to tend to your just high fever and sore throat? Then and there, the person who really needs it should be the priority. The world should address the genocide that's happening. It's widely documented. You cannot deny it. Sadly, even if this is just an analogy, it's the reality for majority of the Palestinians. Even with limbs and blood everywhere, they don't have enough doctors to help. How dark is that? We are living in a world where our leaders will take action if you block trade routes, but not when you carpet bomb a dense land, half of which are children. Our leaders value diplomatic relations with a declared genocidal state by the ICJ. Then our humanity values. We should no longer look at the West for moral standards when a country like South Africa is the real voice of conscience in this world. They made sure that the Palestinian liberation comes at the cost to us, the ordinary people. Speaking up has threatened our livelihood, our safety, and our comfort. That is an acknowledgement that our safety and comfort comes at the cost of theirs. We are being fear-mongered, gaslighted, silenced, forced to believe that this conflict will divide our people. Yet, today, we are coming together because of it, regardless of your backgrounds, race, religion, sexual orientation, whether you're left or you're right, we are all here, we are all showing up for humanity. As Singaporeans, we need to do better. We need to understand how important it is to have our own voice, that we stay educated and informed. We cannot be led blindly. We should refuse to believe that the only way to peace is keeping our silence, because whose peace are we really keeping? Can we, in our right minds, continue to live while they suffer? As said by one of our leaders, when ordinary people have the courage to act on their convictions, change happens. This is the power of people in a democratic society. And that was by Mr. James Lim. So choose your leaders wisely. I'm not sponsored, by the way. So make sure our voice are heard, send your letters, stay educated, and be informed. Handle the difficult conversations with compassion. I know it's very hard. Meet your MPs, educate your family, friends, neighbors, social media followers. Thank you, Kamira. You've been a great voice for Palestinians. The public, channel your pain into action. Politics shouldn't just be a topic at the dinner table. It should be a cause of action for us, because today, after everything that we have witnessed and been through, you should know how deeply it shapes our lives. Choose your leaders wisely. Collective liberation requires collective effort. Change is happening even if it's not fast enough. We have to keep going. My dearest Singaporeans, we may feel alone. We may feel like we're just a helpless small nation. We have come a long way. Are we really that helpless? Should our success be dependent on being complicit with immorality? Did our ancestors fight the occupation just for us to justify another? Will our future generation be repulsed by our actions by being silent? What do we tell our children? Be the change that you want to see in this world. Do not underestimate your impact. If we do it collectively, we can make a change. So let's start at home. When the people are awake and aware, that's when we evolve as a society and as a collective humanity. Thank you. So Amelia's feeling a bit shy now. So it's. Do you want to sit? Come with mommy. Come here. Oh, okay. She's a bit shy. It's okay. Let me just try. Okay, she's very shy.
But we also thank Amelia for being here today as our youngest activist in the room. Yeah, and thank you, Shainda, for your speech. It's really mobilizing, and energizing to hear about the different efforts that people have partook in and can continue to partake in with letter delivery, that happened today, and like various events that you can organize. Like what she said, it's not just a topic at the dinner table. You have to bring it into action also. Because how then can we be accountable to the generations today and the generations to come if we don't take action against the genocide and violence that's happening right now? So let's stand up again for another chant. Okay. It's a very simple chant. So I say no justice, you say no peace. Okay, let's try that. No justice. No peace. 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 I want to see more fists in the air. No justice. No peace. 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 I want Israel to hear you. No justice. No peace. 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 All right, let's keep that in our hearts as we go on to the rest of our program. Okay, let's sit back down. Okay, next up, we have Shaza. Shaza is an activist who believes there can be no peace without justice. Ever since Shaza interned in Jordan with Palestinian refugees, she has always wanted to visit Palestine. Growing up Muslim meant that Palestine held a special place in her heart. She also volunteers regularly with advocates for refugees to share menstrual health knowledge with refugee communities in Malaysia. So Shaza, stage is yours.
Hello? Okay. Shu Ahbarak, that means what's up in Palestine and most of the Levantine region. And that's what I learned in Palestine last October. So I was in Palestine on 7 October. Let's go to the next slide. So that morning, so this is me and my friend who's here today, and we were traveling in Palestine for about a week. So we visited Bethlehem, Ramallah, Nablus, Jethro, all the occupied West Bank. And then we were, on 7 October, we were on our way to the airport. We were just going to go to Lebanon. And it was like a normal morning. It was very early, 5 a.m. We reached the airport, and I was continually stopped because of my Muslim name on my passport, even though it was a Singapore passport. And then they kept asking questions like, oh, why you go Malaysia so many times? And I'm like, cheap massage, you know? And they asked questions like, oh, so why is it that you have this Arabic notebook in your check-in, in your luggage? Why do you have this book from Palestine, from Bethlehem? And I tried to shake it off. I tried to just say that, it was a day trip to Palestine, nothing much. And they were very, very invasive, and they wanted to see my phone. Maybe next slide. So this was when I got a little bit scared because my phone contained all my downloaded images from my Instagram stories. And so there were a lot of Palestine commentary on it, which would have gotten me into big trouble with the authorities, right? So I was about to show them, first I was showing them me in Tel Aviv cycling, just to kind of throw them off a little bit. And then at that very moment, sirens and people started running because Hamas shot at the airport. And of course, we didn't know what was happening, right? It was all in Hebrew. We were very scared. We were out in the open at first, and then they shuffled us into a very crowded safe room. And so this is the safe room. We took an illegal picture. Next. And of course, it was very, very terrifying. We thought there was an active shooter in the airport itself. And about 20 minutes after that, we were let out, and they got back to the interrogation. But at that time, I was able to delete all my photos, but it's okay because they were all backed up in the cloud. So thank you. And then I had the most invasive kind of like body scan check that I ever had in my life. So very traumatizing. And I think it was really bad. I felt like crying, but I knew that if I cried, it would just increase suspicion on me. So I didn't. And we tried to get onto our plane. So it was delayed. We took the shuttle bus to the tarmac. And then when we got off the bus, everyone started squatting and crying. Next. So this was the plane that we were supposed to get on. This is how the sky looked then, and we really thought that there were more rockets coming. And this time we were out in the open, right? So it was really very, very scary. You could see still the trail of the rockets that had just passed, probably an hour ago. And we weren't sure about getting on the plane because we thought that there's a chance that it might be shot out of the sky. But we made the decision to still go on the plane, and it was a good decision because luckily for us, 2 hours later, the airport just shut down. So that means that if we had gone out later, there's a chance that we have been stuck in occupied Palestine. Okay, next. Back. So we also, after that, we went to Lebanon, where if you were following up with the news at that time, Israel was promptly kind of like bombing Lebanon as well, right? The south of Lebanon in Sheba farms, because Hezbollah was there. And we were in the north, and the locals told us that, it's okay. If you move towards the north, you're at Beirut, you're fine. So we listened to them. But on our last night in Beirut, after a week in Lebanon, we found out that we were in the same hotel as the Reuters journalists who were shot at by Israel. So they were at the part in South Lebanon where the journalists were all supposed to be, where press was supposed to be. But Israel still shot at them, and one of them died. And the rest of them, you can see bandages. The equipment was damaged. It was really, really kind of horrific. And it just felt very, very close. So I think what I'm here to share is not just my experience, I think, in Palestine and Lebanon, but also what I learned and what I picked up from there. So I think I really left a part of my heart in Palestine. I would love to return when it's okay. And I'd just like to share some of the best parts that made me laugh and cry. So next slide. So when we first entered Bethlehem, I think this is a video. Can you try to play it? So this is, this is the separation wall, or the ugly wall, as Palestinians called it. It's the 800 kilometers of wall that cuts through the West Bank and allows Israel to take even more land than it's supposed to from the UN treaty. Can I play? Okay, it's fine. Next slide. So as we dragged our luggage, we stopped multiple times to take photos because we were all struck by how big that wall is, by how intimidating it was, but also I think by the graffiti on it, by the pictures on it. So this event is called Sumut for Palestine, and the first time I heard the word Sumut was here. So Sumut is witnessing, Sumut is this dignity confronting dehumanization. Sumut is the spirit of non-violent resistance. And all of this are at the core of the Palestinian resistance. And so it was really very inspiring to see Palestinian solidarity, Palestinian activism here. And I was deeply inspired by the anger, hope, and resistance that lived in each of the wall's panels. Next slide. We also met the most hospitable people who invited us to shisha, kunafa, and makluba. I think what was most important was that they were so generous with their knowledge of the occupation because they are living through it. So each time they tell us, it's a relief of the trauma, right? But they offered it to us generously still. So that's where I learned that the two-state solution is not the answer. Before I went to Palestine, we were fed the same dogma, right? That the two-state solution is the only peaceful solution. But it's not, because Israel has consistently proven itself unable to stop itself from invading. Yeah, it is a shame. Exactly. And so what is the solution? Right? I don't have an answer. I don't think any of us do. But I think it seems we all know the ideal answer is for the Palestinians to be returned to Palestinians, for Palestine to be returned to Palestinians. But that seems so out of reach, and it's not up to us. But that's not to say that there's nothing that we can do. Our actions matter. We need to spread the truth about Palestine since before even 1948, about the atrocities happening now, about the Singapore government's complicity in Israel, and our very strong pro-Israel stance. We need to push our government to be in allyship with Palestine. We are the richest country in ASEAN, but we only donated $500,000, while Indonesia is taking Israel to ICJ. So that's not proportionate at all. We need to recall the top Singaporean officials who are helping the US attack of Houthis in Yemen. There are 20 countries helping the US, 10 of them were anonymous. Singapore was not anonymous because they didn't think that the Singapore population would be upset. But we are, and that's why they backtracked their statement, right? It's proof that all of us have power. 200, 300 of us gathering at the projector was enough to incite them to cancel the event, to request for a permit. So if only 200 to 300 of us can scare them, imagine what we can do with 5 million of us. We don't even need that, actually. I think half of that is sufficient. So, but I think what I'm trying to say is that we all have power, and in our collective power, that's where we have solidarity. And with solidarity is when we can change things. So I encourage you to not only be in solidarity with Palestine, but to be in solidarity with the people of Congo, of Yemen, of Sudan, the Rohingyas, of people who are in Armenia, and so many other resistances happening around the world. Palestine might be the most kind of publicized today, and it's horrific. And there are also many horrific atrocities happening all around the world. And so I encourage you to read up on it, to also, next slide, sorry. I forgot all the slides. Okay, so this is a post about how when the opportunity arose for Singapore to be in solidarity with Yemen, we chose to do the opposite. Next. Yeah, this is the final slide. And this is from the separation wall. This is a quote that was there from Nelson Mandela, which I'm sure we all know. We know too well that our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of Palestinians. And I think what we need to do is to learn, educate, and take action today. Thank you.
Thank you, Shaza. Power to the people and free Palestine. Okay, don't worry, don't need to stand up again. I ask you all stand up later. Now we will show a montage of actions that have happened in Singapore. So many of which has been mentioned here and there during speeches. And I know some of you might have also seen it on different Instagram pages, like on Humankind, on SGP for Palestine, or like different individuals going out and doing their own thing in solidarity. So we'll be showing a montage, documenting these various efforts. And hopefully that will also inspire you to do something within your own communities. And let's build this solidarity efforts beyond the 200-300 people that signed up, beyond the I don't even know how many of you are here today. 100, more than that, probably. Yeah, so powerful to see all of you here today. And there's so much power in us that we can further do in more actions to come as well. So yeah, the montage.
While we live medicine to choose, made by ignorant fools. Israel blocked the UN from delivering food. They bring in the troops and you won't even glimpse of the news. They make money off the products that we're quick to consume. And it's not simply a question of differing views. Forget emotions, this is facts. What I spit is the truth. Makes no difference if you're a Christian or hers. Who Balfour was not a wise man. Shame on Rothschild. Between them, the monster they created has gone wild.
العدو انحصر من اخون غدر انتم بتشعروش بالبطوله لو حتفكم بحجر الانسحاب من العراق.
Saw this picture of Singaporeans in Melbourne marching together for a free Palestine. I thought, would anybody want to do this with me in London? So I asked, and this happened.
Dear PM Lee, I'm running to you with a deep urgency as the genocide in Gaza continues to claim countless lives. While Singapore has called for a ceasefire, we believe that more needs to be done to push for an end to this genocide, such as cutting diplomatic, military, and economic ties with Israel in order to pressure Israel to cease its occupation and assault, and to recognize Palestine as a state. I hope that you and your cabinet will consider my pleas on behalf of the people of Palestine and citizens who care in Singapore, and take a strong stance on the right side of history to end this genocide once and for all.
Just received this video that you're seeing in the background. Our money has actually goes down to a central kitchen in Rafia, South Gaza, where there's 1 million hungry Palestinians, but we couldn't feed all. So we are targeting 1,000 Palestinians, which the central kitchen will cook for them. The love funds have reached the ground now, as you can see in the background video. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you on behalf of the Palestinians in Gaza. It shows that Singaporeans can do it. But we have the means. We are not a poor country. And with me here representing you, and your support has given me a lot of hope and encouragement to carry on.
Wish I could take your tears and replace them with laughter. Long live Palestine, long live Gaza. Palestine, Ramallah, West Bank, Gaza. This is for the child that is searching for an answer. Wish I could take your tears and replace them.
So much that we have done and can continue to do for Palestine until Palestine is free. Are you energized to do more for Palestine? Yeah, I don't hear enough energy. Energized or not? Okay, let's do one more chant before we move on to open mic, where you all will be able to come up and share more. So let's be on our feet right now. What is an event in solidarity with Palestine without chanting from the river to the sea, right? So when I say from the river to the sea, do you know what to say? All right. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. I want PM Lee Hsien Loong to hear you. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, This is the space where we want our voices to be heard. So feel free to just come up, take the mic. Anyone wants to speak? Bless you. Okay, so before we start, just to let everyone know that this is being live streamed. So also be careful to not include any hate speech, nothing about race, religion. Yeah, and feel free to just speak your mind lah. Yeah, just don't get into trouble with the police again. So yeah, okay. If you want to, you can introduce yourself. If you don't want to, that's fine also. It's up to you. So over to you.
Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. Hi. My name is Farah. I guess I felt moved to say something because I'm so blown away. I can't believe I'm going to cry in the first 2 minutes. Less than 2 minutes, yeah. Thank you, sister. I'm the crier in the family, as you can tell. I guess I just wanted to bring up how wonderful it was to hear all of you speak and share your speeches, and how much it resonated, because I feel like for 118 days I've been sharing stuff online every single day, and I feel like we've been restricted, like our views. I used to get like 500, 600 views on stories and stuff, and now it's like less than 100. And I feel like I've tried to open up conversations with friends, and it feels like they're not even listening. And I don't know if anybody can resonate with that. So to be in a room full of people who have bothered to show up, who are all putting in their own efforts to make posters, to come in person, to donate, to just share, it's really, really empowering, and I want to commend everyone for that. I think we all deserve it. I also think that I want to share, like, I have a bit of guilt, as some of you shared just now, that we are so lucky and fortunate to be where we're from. A lot of people like to complain about Singapore, like to complain about our government, and always find like problems, but there's so much that we are blessed with. We were born with a head start, born with opportunities that these people never had a chance at. And I don't know, I guess I feel guilty that sometimes I think about the hopelessness of it. We fight, we make noise, we petition, we write letters, and we still don't know how it's going to end and if it's going to even make a difference. But I always push it down and remind myself of the small victories. And I just want to share like something that I read today which resonated particularly, was how the people of Palestine, like, they have inspired people all around the world. Like, their faith, their steadfast resilience, it's truly, truly inspiring. And I feel like no matter how little our action is, like stop eating McDonald's, stop buying things from Zara, all these types of things, if like they said, if we all come together, it will mean something. It will mean everything. Boycotts really, really work. Yeah. I thank you all. God bless. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Luke, and I should just say Free Palestine to start off, because Palestine has not been free, not just since October 7th, but for the past 75 years. Yeah, and it's ridiculous because for those who may not know, I myself am part Jewish ethnically, and to see people kill others for the, like, like in my name, that is horrible to see, horrible to witness. And the fact that I can't even speak out against it because apparently it's like threatening racial and religious tensions against my own race, like, come on. Like, it is not like, it is, I don't know how to put this, but it is not a racial or religious thing. It is a case where one side wants to take power, wants to take land, wants to take away people's lives. And that cannot go on. And Singapore has been long complicit in this. Like, for those who don't know, Singapore has been working with Israel militarily since our independence, and they continue, as I think Elijah mentioned, like early on, they kept on buying arms from them, like even up until December last year, which is just a month ago, in the middle of a genocide that they are committing. And it's not just this, like as Saza mentioned, where's Saza? Yeah, there's other genocides that Singapore is complicit in, like how in Myanmar, like there's like the coup going on, and Singapore has like been like, I've like in a UN report, like Singapore is like the third largest place where funds have been channeled through to the Myanmar military. Yeah. So to see all of that coming from my state, the state that I live in, the state that I supposedly call home, to see all of that, just all that support for violence coming from here, it's fucking infuriating. And I think we are all here to call for a stop to that. A call to free Palestine, a call to free Myanmar, a call to free any place that is undergoing oppression, that is undergoing violence by those who are powerful and only commit violence just to keep that power. And I think that's all I have to say. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. This is not a political speech. It's a very difficult speech for me to make today. I'm Hasina Kuyakute. I'm Singapore's veteran journalist. I know there's been a generational change in Singapore, and I'm very, very encouraged to see young people. Yay, Amanda. Today gives me so much hope. So much hope. I feel like I've tried my entire life to bring attention to political apathy in our country, and I failed. And why do I say I failed? Because where is human rights in our country? So I'm here to say that my brother is incarcerated in China in a concentration camp. I've tried very hard to get media attention, and not one journalist has written about him. So I came today wearing this t-shirt to ask all Singaporeans, where is Jamal? My mother died without seeing him. he's in a Chinese concentration camp in Guangzhou. It's only a 4-hour flight. And I've tried so hard for 9 years now to lobby the government to bring him home. We didn't see him during COVID. And I went up to see him for the first time in 4 years last year. And it was horrible. It was worse than horrible. So I'm really confused. Here we are. I understand it's a Palestine issue, and my family have supported Palestine all our lives. I remember I'm a foreign correspondent, so I come home, and I remember one of my nieces told me that her husband had posted something on Palestine on Facebook, and the next thing he knew, the police were at his door at 7 a.m. in the morning. This was even before this Gaza blew up. And at that time, I didn't think anything of it. I said, did you say anything against the law? He said it was just a normal Facebook post. So these things have been happening. It's carceral issues. Yes, I'm going to wrap up, but I'm just here to say that the hypocrisy is tremendous. The Singapore government brutally executed 16 people, a majority of them are ethnic minorities, the first woman, and we need to do something. And charity really begins at home. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing about your experiences. The mic is still open, doesn't it?
Hi everyone, I'm Sue, and today I bring you a voice from far away, a voice from a friend who is now living in a different country, but she knows that her family is in Gaza right now, facing atrocities every single day. So I'm in awe in how such violence had bring us all together. 2 weeks ago, I was in Busan. I went to attend the protests and the March of Solidarity with the people there. And I made so much friends there, and here too, with all of you here. And I did not expect to be invited to a gathering in a cafe after the Solidarity March. So it was just a session where we get to know each other. So during the session, during the protest, I met a friend. She's a Turkish lady who read out a letter from her friend. So I'll bring that voice here. So, 1 second. This letter is written a day after the state of South Africa filing the case in ICJ. So here's the letter. Solidarity greetings from this unceasing campaign. Solidarity greetings from this unceasing campaign in a process we are deeply committed to as the eyes, ears, and voices of people fighting for justice. We honor and are sincerely grateful to the State of South Africa for the case that it filed yesterday before the International Court of Justice on the prevention and punishment of the crime of genocide, which demonstrates the heard sound of the worldwide movement in the support of Palestine. The application of international rules serves to inhibit illegal activity, which is a necessary precautionary measure to safeguard humanity from the threat of genocide. The world is at large, as well as our beloved innocent people of Palestine, is in jeopardy if we remain silent about any of these heinous crimes. We need to prosecute, combat, and put an end to this cruel genocide. I therefore want to sincerely thank everyone who attended today and continued to support our just humanitarian cause. You guys are engaged in an humanitarian endeavors that will live on in history and will be immortalized. You haven't been quiet about the crimes, killings, and injustices committed against the helplessness of the Palestinian people. Thank you. So I hear bringing her voice here from afar away. She's still in Korea, still fighting for the voices of her own people and her own family. I'll still keep in contact with Mariam, who is from Palestine. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wants the mic? Don't need paise. You can just come up and take.
Hi, I'm Emily, and I actually came here after school because I heard about the original event and how it was cancelled, and I was quite angry. And I'm glad that everyone managed to show up here on such short notice. And it's really surreal to be living in these times, like the past 100 over days, because like you kind of see what you learned during history class about the Holocaust, like the Cambodian genocide, all being real and televised right in front of your eyes, and it's very infuriating how the world can just stand by and just watch and even enable this to happen. So I really like, and to an extent I feel very disappointed in Singapore because of this, how our leaders have done absolutely nothing, like close to nothing, and are still complicit in the genocide. But and sometimes acts like some groups of Singaporeans who are like, oh, like how some people just really don't seem to care. And but I think like I was starting to lose hope for a moment, but I think like going to these events and seeing so much solidarity, and like the film festival, the SG Palestine Film Festival, and events like this, it really gives you a lot more hope in the power of collective solidarity. And I think that maintaining hope is very important in these times. And so I just like to thank everybody for being here. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak?
Hi everyone, I'm Hasana. This is my friend Casey. To be honest, okay, apologies, I'm speaking off the cuff here. No speech, nothing to read from, but I have to be honest, I feel very old in this room. We are parents of youth, and we see many youth in this room, so you can call me makcik. Although I don't look like one, I am. But anyway, I wanted to share that I feel your outrage, I feel your rage, I feel your anger and your frustration that, you know, we were supposed to be 300 strong tonight. But nevertheless, despite the people upstairs saying that this is a race and religion issue, just look at this room right now and tell me, is this a racial and religious issue? Is it? Look at the person beside you. Look at the person behind you. Look at the person in front of you and tell me, is this a racial and religious issue? Yes or no? This is not a racial and religious issue. What issue is this? Yes, it is a humanitarian issue. Do you need to be a Muslim to care for Gaza? Do you need to be a Christian to care for Gaza? Do you need to not believe in God to care for Gaza? You just need to be human. Tell me, guys, are you human or are you aliens? You need to be human, just human, to care about what's going on. You can be youth, makciks, pakciks, nenek, atuk, whatever. But we all care for, what do we care for? Yes. Yes, Amelia. So Casey and I are here today to Okay, so just a little bit of background about us. We are homeschoolers. So we are homeschooling our children. I have 4, you have 5. And so our eldest are around your age. So that's why you can call me Makcik. And so we've been talking about Palestine for years. But when October 7th happened, we were motivated and pushed to start something with our youth. We wanted to give them a safe space for them to talk about what's going on. So we've been meeting for about a few weeks now. We've gathered about 8 youths in our homeschool community. And so what we do is, when we meet every week, we talk about, what we've talked about so far is the history of even way before 1948. You know, the Ottoman Empire, mandatory Palestine, 48, 67, and so on and so forth, the Balfour Declaration. We talk about the language that's being used in the Balfour Declaration. If you've read it, you know how ridiculous it sounds. We talk about media literacy and how biased the media is. And as parents, we believe that you guys, you are the future. And we are taking it upon ourselves to educate them. And I hope that the energy that I'm feeling here, which I don't have, very old already, actually now is my bedtime, but the energy that I'm feeling and that's emanating from this room is incredible. So please keep that energy up. We need it, Gaza needs it. So thank you everyone for being here. You have re-energized me, this very old lady here. Hopefully I can have the energy to continue the conversations that we are having weekly with our youth. And Casey, would you like to?
She's taken all the words out of my mouth, but she's not that old. I'm old. My eldest son is 22, so I feel a bit of out of place, but I'm actually really proud to see all of you here. We very rarely see kids and youth who are willing to step out. And just from the perspective of a parent, I like to say that I think we need to grab our youngsters. Okay, they won't be taught in school. I mean, we homeschool. We do that because we want something else for our kids. So I want all of you, if you can, to go and get the youngsters in on this, because people like us, you know, there are very few who will. It's not that they don't care. I feel that we are so entwined in our lives and we have to look after. It's difficult for people our age to want, you know, to go and do something. They'll maybe say a couple of things at the dinner table, but nobody will do anything. But I really think that we have an opportunity here to make connections and do something for your generation and for the people after. And I hope that, you know, we can do that together. And thank you very much for having us here. It's very inspiring.
Thank you so much, Makciks. I'm the same age as your oldest son. Is there, okay, so we gotta wrap things up soon. So final chance, anyone wants to take the mic? Wow, suddenly so many. Okay, y'all come here, queue up, and then make it less than 1 minute. Okay, come.
Hi guys. I didn't plan to have any speech on my phone, whatever, but I'm not sure whether anyone has covered this part, but it's about the mental health part in this whole movement. I just want to let you guys know that if there are moments where you are alone in your room and you feel like you're going crazy because of what's happening in the world, I just want you guys to know that those feelings are valid. Your mental health are validating your humanity. Your body's telling you that you are being human, and it's okay to cry. It's okay to see all this stuff on your phone every day and not feel okay about it. Okay, and I just want you guys to know that you are not alone. And when the people around you makes you feel crazy and say that why are you overreacting? Why can't you function today? Like, why can't you stay focused? Just take it in and like take a day off and like talk to people, talk to your friends and the loved ones around you or the people around here, get each other's number and just have this community where you can stay sane, because in this world where everything is going insane, we need people like us. We need more people like us. And speaking of people, like I see so many young, young friends of mine over here. We live in an era where it's all about social media, TikTok, Reels, or whatever nonsense. Use this to our advantage. I know so many younger content creators, upcoming creators here, who are as like inspired to be somewhere in social media, with those numbers and stuff. But as a fellow content creator myself, like, I want you guys to know that being a content creator is not about what you put out there, it's the quality behind all it. Like, it's okay if you don't get like opportunities, we get opportunities all the time, okay. Hey. But just make sure you put on quality work and do the right thing, say the right words. It's okay if you're gonna be turned down by all the brands, it's okay. At the end of the day, you're a content creator and you become a quality content creator, okay? And I love you all.
Thank you. Okay, we'll have 2 more, exactly 30 seconds. I'll time you all, and then it will be done.
I just wanted to say that, okay, Luke has already spoken already, but there is more than one Jew in the room, including me. There are a few of us here, so it's not a race and religion issue, and it's not anti-Semitic to be anti-Zionist.
Thank you. So 30 seconds. So I have a friend, she wrote a poem. Unfortunately, because of job security reasons, she doesn't feel very comfortable sharing it. So I'll share it for her instead. I see your hijab. It's titled Umati Usrati Kwalbi. My community, my family, my heart. I see your hijab in my sister. I hear your utterances in my mother. I see gray hair like my father's. I hear the children cry. My nephew asks me to buy him strawberries on the way home. In another world, the juice on his lips is blood. The younger one has black curls, tan skin. In another world, that's enough to spell death. Struggling to keep home in a country that has no time for grief. This is when we most need community. Yet a funeral is seen as public assembly. I hold the children close, turn their heads away, switch off the television, hide the horror from the day. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, thanks everyone for participating in the open mic. I mean, theoretically it doesn't end here. You all still have a voice to speak everywhere else, but for now we'll move on to our closing remarks before we close off today's session.
Hi everyone, I'm Koki. And just in closing today, I wanted to share a list of things that I'm deeply ashamed of and a list of things that I'm very proud of, okay? So I'm gonna read now a list of things that I'm deeply ashamed of about the Singapore government, Singaporean institutions, and companies in Singapore. And when I say each thing at the end, I'll ask you, what do we have to say? And I want you to say, shame on you, okay? Okay. Last December, as Israel's genocide against Palestinians was intensifying and at least 8 countries had recalled ambassadors from Israel, Singapore sent a new ambassador to Israel, Ian Mark. What do we have to say to the government of Singapore? In December 2023, it was announced that the Singapore Navy purchased Blue Spear missiles from Israel's aerospace industries. Each missile cost Singapore's taxpayers $5 million. IAI will even have a booth at the Singapore Air Show next month. What do we have to say to the Singapore Navy? The People's Association has been, for years, offering Israeli folk dance classes, even after the killings and violence increased after 7th October. What do we have to say to the People's Association? Israeli martial art form, Krav Maga, that was developed for the Israeli occupation force,
continues to be offered widely in Singapore. These are the techniques literally used to kill and mutilate Palestinian lives. What do we have to say to the companies that continue to teach Krav Maga? NTU and NUS continue to pursue partnerships with Israeli institutions, inviting Israeli academics and facilitating exchange programs. What do we have to say to these national institutions? Israeli military contractors like Elbit Systems continue to operate out of Singapore. What do we have to say to our government for refusing to ban these terror technology organizations? Police intimidation of people expressing solidarity with Palestine has continued unabated in Singapore. Show Up for Palestine was an event we had organized today originally, and over 300 people signed up in just 4 days. We had to open a waiting list within days of just announcing the event. But the police stopped the event. Within a day, we had to set up this private event by invite so we could still have a chance to gather safely for Palestine. Many people have been investigated by the police and other authorities. They've been intimidated for courageous acts of protest or even for just posting their support for Palestinian freedom online. People's jobs, safety, and freedom have been threatened for daring to stand up for Palestinian lives. Only cowards and bullies stop peaceful expression of our conscience for a just and urgent cause. What do we have to say to the authoritarian state that uses force to tie our hands, silence us, and neuter our efforts for peace and justice? Shame on you! But will we stop resisting? No! If we can't display Palestinian flags, we'll display umbrellas and kites hand-painted with watermelons. If we can't call our gatherings from the river to the sea, then we call them humankind. If we can't rally at Hong Lim Park, we move it indoors to the projector. If the police stop us from having this public indoor event, we move it to this industrial building in Ubi. That's our resilience, yes. And we move it to this place and we stand, we sit on the floor, we squeeze together and smell each other for hours. Because we are a resilient people, we will continue to resist, persist, and stand steadfast for Palestine, for justice and for freedom. All of us here today represent hundreds of thousands of ordinary Singaporeans who are united in our call for Singapore to cut all military, economic, diplomatic, cultural, and academic ties with the settler-colonial state of Israel. Ordinary Singaporeans who live with the moral injury that our government can be relied on to consistently take the side of oppressors. While paying lip service to the need for a ceasefire in Gaza, our government is deepening its ties with the settler-colonial state. But we are not our government. The people's will is clear and resolute. It is for Singapore to stand on the side of justice for a free Palestine. Despite the repression and costs they face, so many in Singapore have stepped up to educate, to fundraise for mutual aid, to protest, to build community in solidarity with Gazans and more. The people who showed up across all the actions we organized today, we carry many others with us. Those who didn't receive an invite to this event, whose employers may fire them for showing up, who care deeply, but for very real reasons are afraid to get into trouble with the law, their schools, or their family. They too deserve the freedom to speak, to show up, to take action. We are spilling out of this small room, which is one of the only sacred spaces left in Singapore for free expression. It exists because of the courage and generosity of an ordinary Singaporean, a father of a young child. He's got one more coming, and he's like hiding somewhere, right? Who pays out of his pocket to keep this place going. He doesn't charge us any money to use this space. In fact, he bought us drinks for free, right? And you can help yourself to them later. One day, when we can gather the courage to leave this room with the knowledge that we have each other's backs, I hope we will spill into the streets. Many other actions happened today except this one, and we made history. After, I don't know, more than a few decades, students organized today on their campuses in solidarity with Palestine. 43 NTU students attended a teach-in called Punting for Palestine from 2 to 4 p.m. This is our version of a strike. People skipped class to come. And there were students who did a teacher in explaining Zionism and the harmful myths that come out of it. They discussed and unpacked problematic rhetorics and propaganda tactics used by the Israeli military and government. And they demanded for NTU to stop partnerships with Israeli institutions, to stop the policing of students for expressing their solidarity with Palestine. And they also called on their institution to build solidarity with Palestinian universities and academics. In NUS, at the same time, around 40 students gathered for Picnic for Palestine. They sat together at U-Town Green, and they learned about their connections as students in Singapore to injustices towards Palestinians. They shared information about Palestinian culture and fundraisers to support Palestinians. And they talked about future spaces for students to come together and keep learning. I'm going to read out a short message from them. We are united in our deep care about the ongoing injustices against Palestinians. As students with the privilege to be able to study, learn, and grow in safety, we stand in solidarity with our fellow students in Gaza, where 390 universities have been destroyed, while the last remaining one was bombed just last week. In SMU, it was very last minute, but some students even organized a film screening of an Al Jazeera documentary about the violence in Palestine in 2014. So across all 3 major universities in Singapore, students organized at the same time this afternoon. And what do we have to say to them? We're proud of you. And this afternoon, at about the same time, 70 people in the middle of the workday and in the hot sun walked to the Istana to deliver letters to Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, highlighting our 5 demands and sharing their views on why our leaders need to act urgently for a ceasefire in Palestine. 140 letters were delivered on behalf of others who couldn't come in person. We thought that the walk might only attract freelancers or artists who had flexible schedules, but many people told us when the action was over that they had taken time off and had to rush back to the office. What do we have to say to all of them? Hundreds of people also banded together for Palestine today by wearing armbands to work, to school, and as they went about their days. And so it is in all of these people and all of our solidarity that we take strength. We hope, as the organizers of Singapore for Palestine, so many names, you know. We hope that today energizes us, deepens our conviction, and inspires us to keep organizing for Palestine and putting pressure on our government to meet our 5 demands. While there are many culprits complicit in this genocide in Palestine, the actor we have the most responsibility for and the most power to influence is the Singapore government. We are not free until Palestine is free, but also Palestine will not be free because we are not free. Despite millions rising around the world in so-called democratic countries, the oppressors continue to oppress unfazed. If we are to free Palestine, we have to first reclaim our freedoms, our power. Take our demands to your classrooms, to your dinner tables, to your co-workers. Educate, agitate, and organize. And if you can, take risks. Take them together. The people in Palestine deserve our love, and they also deserve our courage. Thank you.
Okay, so that is almost the end of our event. You all don't go yet, but to the people on live stream, bye-bye. See you all next time. Bye-bye. Free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free! Palestine! Free, free! Palestine! Okay, bye-bye live stream people. Okay.